Hey, a few days ago we talked about Matatus that developed from uniforms to, well, full-blown Nganyas. Today, courtesy of Mkurugenzi, I'm pulling off a reverse card and talking about Matatus that straight up dropped their mighty crowns and went back to school to sing Wamudende.
Wamudende, 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 Wamudende.
Respectfully, of course.
Wamudende, Wamudende.
And since I'm a good follower of instructions, let's start with Boombox, representing Rongai. Forget what you know about loud music. Back in 2023, this was one of, if not the greatest sound beast of all time. Rumors has it that the investor packed over 2 million just in music alone.
Hapo tunaongea mambo ya 2 mic kuendelea kwa ngoma peke yake.
There were literally boom boxes blasting music in the interior. Hapa mziki ulikuwa unalishwa na spade, bro. Or you think that's all? This vehicle had even exterior waterproof speakers on the rear bumper. I haven't seen anything that cool since Avocado and Githeri.
Unajadi kuna marine speakers huko kwa nini bumper ya nyuma. Hizo ni water resistant. Na si za para.
Anyway, he was based off of the old version of the new Isuzu, officially known by countrymen as Giatano. On the front, he had a sparkling white theme, fancy round headlights coupled with sharp LED spotlights, huge side mirrors, and of course, a very fancy bumper. On the side, he had music-type graffitis, boombox images, and a very serious lighthouse. On the back, he had fancy customized taillights, huge back portrait, a rare top spoiler, and a specially fabricated bumper to hold the waterproof speakers. And just to understand who Boombox was, this was him bullying Brawlout. Even Manunda might feel untouchable now, but back then, he was getting sleepless nights from Boombox. Just when he was about to square off with Opposite for another Kenya 1 position race, he got drunk on Fanta. And as you may have noticed yourself, loudness and heavy drinking never go together. And just a few months later, he was spotted putting on an MCA Sacco uniform, and after that, he picked a whole new identity. This time he had a blue theme, rocked stock headlights, and kind of a stock bumper, give or take. On both sides, the graffiti was scrapped off, and on the rear, the huge back portrait was missing. In the interior, he maintained most of his features like screens and LED lighting, so he was not such a boring uniform. But for a vehicle that once had an opportunity to contest for Kenya 1, this was hurtful. Back before you became a gambling addict, there was a vehicle called Mamba. Do me a favor and be keen on the plates KCW 047A because this was the first and the original Mamba in the game. She was aggressively mischievous, bringing all forms of fun and game into the streets. She even continued to pick up the Kenya 1 position back in 2021. Opposite was still a young guy by then, and big boys like El Padrino had to give her space for her shenanigans. On the front, she had a fancy face with a bumper just like the one from Nofia, with the regular sized mirrors. On the back, she had 2 divided back portraits, fancy taillights, and a small top spoiler. The interior had black seats with green strips and of course the Mamba logo. In 2022, she worked side by side with Opposite and even watched him pick up the Kenya 1 position, making sure Umoja maintained the gold. In 2025, she's still with us, not as Mamba, but as a uniform working loafers travelers Sacco.
Mamba ndio hii Mamba ndio hii. Mamba 047, Mamba inakuwa loafer travelers ndio hiyo Mamba 047, Mamba. Ilikujanga huyu kachapa. Ana Delta, Mamba ndio hiyo, Mamba.
The once vibrant queen of the streets now sounds like a rained-on Kindiki, and the once highly modified face card is flatter than brains at a UDA rally. Now, you remember the plates I told you to mark, KDJ 047M? No, that was KCW 047A. You need to pay attention. There were 2 Mambas, and both of them pretty much suffered the same uniform fate. Anyway, so KDJ was like a clone of the original KCW Mamba. She had this cringy green-black theme, right? And then on the front, there was this fancy bull bar with huge spotlights and a scoop-type bumper. On the rear, there were fancy fabricated taillights, evil genius writings all over, and of course, a very serious back portrait. On the side, she had scary movie-type graffiti, huge Mamba emblem at the top, and of course, a wonderful lighthouse. The interior continued the greenish theme, Mamba emblem on the roof, over 10 screens, and very heavy music system. She was not as mischievous as her predecessor, but trust me, she got the job done. Here are some of her highlights. She became mainstream around 2022, and by 2023 she was still standing tall. This was her working along night nurse in June 2023, and in October that same year, she got involved in a minor accident. And after that, she was quite in a grey area, chini ya maji literally. By 2024 September, she was operating under MCA Sacco in full uniform under the name Web, this time representing Rongai. She had a blue Sacco theme complete with Sacco logos, but maintained most of her features like the rare fancy bumper, fancy taillights, and even the interior features. The screens and colorful LEDs, for example, were retained, and on the roof, where there used to be a Mamba emblem, was a Web emblem. For quite a while, there's been a lot of confusion on which Mamba went where, but here you have it. You're welcome. I'll take payments in form of subscriptions and likes. Just a few years ago, in the famous roads of Kiambu was a vehicle known as Code 6. His theme for the most part was red, with the words COD proudly written on the forehead. You know how Kiambu vehicles be. On the front, he had regular headlights, slightly fabricated bumper, LED spotlights, and some usual Isuzu type side mirrors. On the side, he had chrome finishes around the window frames, numerous graffiti, and Code 6 writings at the top as part of the lighthouse. The rear was very simple, a small spoiler at the top, slightly fabricated bumper, 4-port exhaust, and the usual taillights you will spot on any Isuzu school bus. In 2025, he decided to do something different with himself. Not what you're thinking. He went for a complete face card fabrication, this time bringing in a new grille, large round spotlights, and to finish the looks, akasema ekewe taa kama za opposite. On the side there was nothing other than the Fins Travels writings, of course. And on the back, there was a newly fabricated bumper and very new taillights. Back portrait, labda uendevyo sasa. I know what you're thinking. Is your girl cheating on you? The answer is yes. But here's what you should be thinking. This could have easily been a glow up. But he put on full school uniform, so nah. While folks like X-Rated were developing wings to fly out of Super Metro, Boyka was taking reservations. In case you don't know, Boyka was one of Ngong's finest lineup back in 2023. He had a bright red theme, and on the front, he had normal headlights, Toyota Land Cruiser grille, numerous spotlights, colored LEDs, and a nicely customized bumper. On the side, he had numerous perfectly placed graffiti and Boyka-related stuff written all round. On the back, there was a portrait from the famous Boyka movie, huge spoiler at the top, fancy taillights, and a custom bumper. The interior maintained the red theme, numerous screens, and of course, next-level music was installed. In September 2025, he was spotted taking measurements of Super Metro uniform, and by the time I'm posting this video, he is not yet out. And with that, Ngong has sure lost a great one. Before I give my last bonus Matatu, consider subscribing if you love this type of content. Also, click the notification bell so you get reminded whenever I do some shenanigan stuff like this. And if you'd like to say something, put it down in the comment section and I'll personally get to it. With that being said, smash that like button and let's proceed. You all remember El Padrino from my glow up video, right? Well, he did a lot more than glowing up. In the glow up video, I talked about how he grew up from El Padrino to Saj Knight. My English is as poor as Somalis making highway content, but just bear with me. El Padrino was one of the greatest javs to hit Nairobi streets, even working along Mamba and opposite. Currently, he is at County Link Sacco, Syokimau, as a uniform, but a very great uniform at that. He maintained most of his features despite the uniform status. But of course, it was kind of a step down, like just a little bit, like a very, very tiny bit. See you on the next one.